The scientific revolution. The scientific revolution. I was singing in class today, and I just wanted to express my gratitude for historians, for science, for these people that can give me this information that brought to life so much. Basically, during the medieval times, there was no thought other than what the Bible had given us. That was what we know. That is what we would ever know. Then this guy comes along, Thomas Aquinas. Let me figure it out. Let me look at my notes. He comes around and he's like, well, actually, it makes sense that we would have faith and reason. And that's when that comes to life, saying that as humans, we can learn with faith and reason, but if faith and reason ever contradicted each other, we would obviously choose faith. So that was the medieval times, right? Now we're going towards the scientific revolution, where basically we understand that the earth is at the center of the universe, which is, what is that called? Give me one moment. It is called geocentrism. I'm very bad with, what's it called? Like saying certain words. Anyways, and so Aristotle tells us that that's the truth. That's what we know. And so he publishes these books. That's what gets told everywhere, including the church. The church believes it because it basically says, like, geocentrism shows that the earth is what God made. The earth, it shows our power as beings, and then going up, it goes like to the perfectionism towards God, and it's like 76 millions of miles away. That's where the throne of God, heaven, is, which is crazy. And so then that occurs, right? And so that's all happening, and this guy comes along named Nicholas Copernicus. I don't really know how to say it, but get this. He would go out, and he had obsession. He had an obsession over his art for the stars. He would go out at night, and he would study the stars. He would study what the stars are lining, telling him everything. And he figured out, he was like, that's not right. He was like, well, that is a very big problem, because that's basically saying the church is wrong. But he did not really want to go there yet, so he waited to the death, till his death. I think it was 1543. Yeah, he waited till his death to publish what he wrote, saying that this is wrong and we're actually in a heliocentric universe. And then the church read this and they were like, no, like, this is banned, this is not happening. And the books that were banned, sorry, I'm just very excited about this. The books that were banned, if anyone wanted to read those books, they would be basically, what was it called? They wouldn't be able to redeem their faith. Basically, they would be going to hell. So no one cared to read these books, because why would they give away their faith for these books? But then these other people come around, these famous mathematicians, and they're in like Northern Europe-ish, along with, it's not Jonas, it's like Johannes Kepler. And he comes up with this brilliant idea. He reads about Copernicus, his work. Okay, don't mind me for my whatever. He reads about his work, and he's like, he's wrong, which at first I was confused about, because in my textbook it says that he mathematically proved that he was right. But I think that was later on. But he was wrong about not the heliocentric universe, but instead he was wrong that the earth and like the planets do not move in circles but in ellipses. And he's studying this, and he proves that. And then he produces his book, and then that's when Galileo comes in. And Kepler, he's writing to Kepler, and Kepler and him are obsessed over the world. And that is the biggest thing about obsession. Obsession leads to success. Obsession over anything, over a product of anything that your mind has capability to do leads to success, leads to evolution, leads to theory, leads to science, leads to beauty. Anyways. And so they're talking, and then Galileo in 1609, Kepler's talking to him in a letter about this new thing called a telescope, this new invention in the northern parts of Europe. And just by reading what Kepler's telling Galileo, he constructs a masterpiece. He constructs a masterpiece where he is able to look at things that's never before been seen. And then I'll also add to this once I read, because I have the books, once I read about Galileo and we talk in class, it's going to make me more excited. Okay, so he publishes a book in 1610, The Starry Messenger. Get this. This man was so impressed by himself, so intrigued, that he wrote this book explaining to everyone in the world, like, this is beautiful. This is what we're meant to do. This is what we're meant to live for. Basically constructing this new idea, separating the church and science, because Galileo is just so amazing. And he kept talking about how the church needs to stick to what it knows, which is bringing people to faith and religion, but science is what he knows, and he needs to stick to that, and he can prove his theories. And so that happens. And so then 1609 he builds his telescope, and then he becomes a celebrity from his works of The Starry Messenger, and people are amazed. People are glorified because he's introducing the moon and the phases and Jupiter and the Jupiter's moons, and people are so amazed. Like, you're literally just a citizen and you're hearing about what is up there, and everything you know is not right. That's crazy. And so then I was gonna say another point. So that happens. And another big point, which is crazy, so crazy, is that the moon, he tells people that the moon has craters in it. And then the church hears this again and does not like it, because it's saying that as a level, the earth is supposed to be the most imperfect. And saying that the above realm with the moon is imperfect too is unsettling. It's not right. So he bans all of this. The church bans all of his books. And then Galileo goes to something called, what was it called? It was called it was something with the church that basically said, Inquisition, and it says that basically he's guilty, and they told him, you gotta stop saying this. And he was like, okay. But then Galileo gets more drinks in him, gets more happy, gets more excited, and continues to spread his word about heliocentrism. And then he writes to this duchess, famous lady, explaining faith and reason. Faith and reason are complete. This is why it's so important. This is why I love learning this today, because we are given so much. We have the capability to learn anything. So the church was stopping people from growing past their capabilities, which they're able to. All of us are able to do anything if we put our mind to it, if we study it, if we become obsessed in almost a way, because we have the ability, our brain, we can learn anything we want to. Anything. Anyways. And so then in 1616, he goes to Inquisition again, found guilty, but then that's when he starts dissing the church, saying how they need to back up, because why are they in the business of science when they don't know anything? You're dissing the properties which are right, and he knows it is, and he can prove it. And so then 1633, he got tried again, and they said, look, I'm either going to kill you, torture you to death, or you can go home and say to the world that you were wrong. And he does this, and then he dies, which is horrible. And then Isaac Newton comes around, and he's like, he was right. He was right. Another thing to note before he got Inquisition in 1633 was that he said about the moon and how the moon's gravity affects the tides, and that really set up the church. They were like, no, I don't really like that. And so then Isaac Newton says gravity, and people are like, oh, behold gravity, right? Interesting. And so then this guy comes around, and he is terrified because everything he's ever known is wrong. Everything, he's like, religion, I don't know what